Hi there, meteorologist Ed Valley here, taking a look at South America, and we're going to be focused on Argentina here for most of today's video. Hot and dry here over the next 7 days, trending wetter though in the late 5 to 10 day and beginning of the 11 to 15 day. So I want to start here looking at temperatures and precipitation. So we're going to start with the last 30 days of precipitation. And again, this is an estimate, but you can see the theme here. We've had some moisture dating back to the 8th of December. But look at it compared to normal. It's below normal in a lot of spots here. And when you look at the temperatures over that same period, max temperatures above normal, min temperatures closer to normal, but still slightly above. So again, we've had some warm conditions leading into this warm period. And I want to just go over the last couple days of temperatures. This goes back to the 4th. We're going to show you the 4th through the 8th of temperatures here, and you can see temperatures even dating back to the 4th were middle 80s to middle 90s. Then as I press forward here, you can see the heat start to build on the 6th and the 7th, a lot of 90s showing up here north, 80s to the south, and then yesterday most areas were in the 90s, and that's the beginning of this very, very hot pattern. So I wanted to start with that, and then we're going to go into kind of the discussion here of what we're going to be seeing over the coming days. So you notice here through the week ahead, you can see the date up here, and really through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, all of that activity is going to be found up in Brazil. And again, you're noticing storms as far south as far northern Rio Grande do Sul, more importantly, probably Paraná and parts of Santa Catarina and Mato Grosso do Sul, and you notice nothing happening down here in Argentina. And you look at the temperatures through Saturday, or excuse me, the precipitation through Saturday, and this tells me a lot. Very dry Argentina, very dry Rio Grande do Sul. Light to moderate rains in Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná, but you notice heavy rains northern Mato Grosso do Sul, Mato Grosso, Goiás, and adjacent areas. So you look at the GFS through Sunday, same idea. Some rain in southern Brazil, but Argentina and Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil here through Sunday morning, just very tough conditions, not a lot of precipitation. So that's aspect number one. Aspect number two are these temperatures, and I want to point your attention once again to the fact that the GFS is just on another planet here. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be hot. It just means that the GFS we've been saying this for weeks, the GFS is just too hot. And I want to show you what I mean. So the European valid here Tuesday has temperatures. You can see it is very warm. It's 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, a couple areas even higher. That's still 95 to 105. But the issue here is if you're using this data verbatim in any sort of algorithm or calculation, you're going to run into problems with the GFS. This happened in North America in July in the plains. You see the difference here. The GFS is widespread 45 degrees Celsius. And 45 degrees Celsius is 113 degrees. While that is it possible? Locally, sure. But the European is just head and shoulders better with temperatures due to the dry soil biases we're seeing with this GFS model. Wednesday, the same deal. Euro, GFS. Euro, GFS. Now let's move it on to Thursday. And day by day, this actually gets worse on the GFS. So it's hotter on the European here. You see it's still, it's still around 40 degrees Celsius. That's still around 100 or just over. But the GFS is trying to push 50 degrees Celsius, and that's beyond records in a lot of places. That's 120 degrees. That's not going to happen. And you see here on Friday, the GFS is even hotter, trying to push. If I zoom in here on parts of Argentina, I mean, it is just absurd. Okay, it is incorrect, and that is very important to know. Okay. So it is going to be very hot. Don't get me wrong here, but we need to be aware that the GFS is just too hot. Much too hot. 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit too hot. Still doesn't take away from the fact that the next 7 days are going to run, 8 to 12 degrees Celsius above normal. That is very, very, that's 20 to 35 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. That is a incredibly hot and dry pattern. So the next 5 to 7 days, very tough in Argentina and Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. No taking away from that. Now, I want to discuss this period coming up as we head into early next week. You see here on the European model, Sunday through Tuesday of next week, we're going to really increase the risk for rainfall. You see here on the GFS model, same idea, early next week. Why is that? Well, it's due to this MJO phase going into phase 8. Last week, the GFS kind of did one of these numbers. It kind of missed phase 8, kind of stayed weak, and then went into phase 1 and 2 and came back around. Phase 8 is a wetter pattern in Argentina. The European has phase 8, and then it goes back into phase 6 and 7. So there's two paths here. The first path is the European. We go through phase 8, a really stout phase 8 signal. And then by Martin Luther King Day, we're back in phase 6, and we're probably going to repeat what we did here in late December and early January, which was drier in parts of Argentina. Now, the GFS model does go into phase 1 and 2 here, but there's a path where a similar MJO evolution to the European occurs. So there's just a lot more uncertainty. So what does this all mean? Well, phase 8, like we just said, is a wetter period. High confidence on this returning next week. However, the difference is, though, if the European is right, we're going to stay in phase 6 right through the end of January, and then maybe we trend a little bit drier as we head into phase 7 in February, but even still not too bad. Whereas the GFS's interpretation, if you go into phase 1, that's going to dry out Argentina and southern Brazil pretty good before perhaps getting a little wetter in phase 2. So there's still some uncertainty here. It is something we're going to have to watch, but generally speaking, the period here right through the 10 to 15 day is much wetter, which would be a positive thing for Argentina and southern Brazil. So here's the GFS, here is the European, and here is the Canadian in that 10 to 15, the 20th through the 25th of January. Much more favorable. The other thing to note here, look at how much cooler it is on all modeling in Argentina as we head into the 10 to 15 days. So the last thing I wanted to mention here is look at how much drier central Brazil is during this time. You see that? So this pattern's kind of oscillating a little bit. Generally very, very, very tough conditions next 5 to 7 days south, but it's going to flip, it looks like, here towards the latter half, or excuse me, the back third here of January. So I'll leave the decision-making and the conclusions up to you, but from the weather side, we are trending wetter and cooler Argentina and parts of southern Brazil as we head into that back third of January. So we're going to have much more throughout the week. If you have questions, let us know. Our audio files are where it's going to be. A lot of good discussion will be in those audio files, so I encourage you to watch those or listen to those each morning. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.